In the previous chapter, we have discussed about the climatic factors. Now let us discuss about the edaphic factors in this topic. Let us see what is edaphic factor. The edaphic factor which it deals with the soil. So the soil, how it has been formed. The soil is an abiotic factor which is related to the physical and chemical composition in a particular area. The study of the soil is said to be the pedology. How the soil is formed? The soil is a weathered superficial layer of the earth in which plant can grow. So the soil, it has been started to originate due to the different climatic and ecological condition by weathering the rock surface. The biological weathering, it will be taking place when the organism like bacteria, fungi, lichens and plants helps in the breakdown of rocks through the production of acids and certain chemical substances. Even the physical weathering will be taking place when the rock it is continuously exposed to the sunlight and the rainfall. The topmost layer of the rock is weathered and these weathered rocks it will be converted into soil. Now let us discuss about the soil types. Based on soil formation, the soils are divided into residual soils and transported soil. Residual soil, these are the soil formed by weathering and pedogenesis of the rock. What is pedogenesis? Pedogenesis is the process of soil formation as regulated by the effect of place, environment and history. Biogeochemical process act to both create and destroy order within the soil is known as the pedogenesis. Transported soil. These soils are transported from one place to another by various agencies like water, wind, etc. Now let us see about the important edaphic factors. First edaphic factor is soil moisture. The plant can absorb the rainwater and moisture directly from the air without any criticals. Soil water. Rain is the main source of water as you peoples know. So when the rainwater reaches the soil, it will be going to a different levels. Under these levels, the capillary water, which is held between the pores of the soil particles and angles between them, is the most important form of the soil which can be absorbed by the plant and it can use it for its growth. Next edaphic factor, what we are going to see is soil reactions. So, as you are aware, the soil may be acidic or alkaline or it might be neutral in their reactions. So, the best pH range of the soil for cultivation of crop plant is 5.5 to 6.8. Next one is soil nutrients. So, the soil fertility and the productivity is the important in which the plants can grow and give and use the organic nutrients in the form of ions. Next one is soil temperature. The soil temperature of an area plays an important role in determining the geographical distribution of plants. Low temperature reduces use of water and solute absorption by roots. So as you know, in the polar region, the plant density will be very less or there will be no plants. Next one is soil atmosphere. The spaces left between the soil particles are called pores which contains oxygen and carbon dioxide. The next important thing is the soil organisms. So the many organisms are existing in the soil. The organisms like bacteria, fungi, algae, protozoans, nematodes, insects, earthworms, etc. These are called as the soil organism and earthworm is said to be the farmer's friend because it maintains the fertility of the soil. Now let us see about the soil profile. Soil it is commonly divided into number of horizons at different depths. These layers it differs in their physical, chemical and biological properties. This succession of superimposed horizon is called as the soil profile. Now we will see about the horizon and its descriptions. So the first horizon is O horizon, which is otherwise known as the organic horizon and consists of humus. So it is classified into O1 and O2. O1 means freshly fallen leaves, twigs, flowers and fruits. O2 means dead plants, animals and their excreta, which is decomposed by microorganisms, are seen. So this zone is usually absent in agricultural and in deserts. The next layer is A horizon. So it is otherwise known as the leached horizon. Here the topsoil it is rich in humus and minerals. So this A horizon is once again classified into A1 and A2. A1, which is said to be dark and rich in organic matters because of the mixture of organic and minerals. A2, it is light colored layer with large sized mineral particles. The next layer is B horizon, which is known as the accumulation horizon. Here the subsoil it is poor in humus and rich in minerals. The minerals such as iron, aluminium and silica, rich clay, organic compounds are found over here. The next layer is C horizon, which is said to be the partially weathered horizon. So here we can see the weathered rock fragments with little or no plant or animal life. So this layer it consists of parent materials of soil composed of little amount of organic matters without any life forms. The last layer is R horizon, which is known as the parent material. So this horizon it is also known as the bedrock. So here the bedrock it is made up of underground water and water is found over here. Types of soil particles. So based on the relative proportions of soil particles, it is classified into 4 types. They are clayey soil. So it consists of 50% clay and 50% silt. Silt soil, it consists of 90% silt and 10% sand, which is said to be a good soil. Loamy soil, it consists of 70% sand and 30% clay or silt, or even it will be having both. So this soil is said to be the garden soil and the crop grows well in this soil. The next is said to be the sandy soil. Here 85% sand and 15% clay will be present, and this soil it is said to be the light soil, and here the cultivation is not possible. So when we talk about the loamy soil is said to be the ideal soil for cultivation because it consists of 70% sand and 30% clay or silt or both. So this ensures that it can retain and drainage of water. The porosity of the soil provides adequate aerations and allows the penetration of roots. Based on the water retention, aeration and mineral contents of soil, the distribution of vegetation it is divided into following types. They are halophytes, so the plants which are living in saline soil. Psammophytes, the plants which are living in sandy soils. Lithophytes, we can see the plants that survive on rocky surfaces. Chasmophytes, the plants which survive in rocky crevices. Cryptophytes, plants that are living below the soil surfaces. Cryophytes, the plants which are living in ice surface. Oxalophytes, the plants which are living in acidic soil. And the last one, calciphytes, the plants which lives in rich calcium and alkaline soil. Topographic factors. The surface feature of the earth are called as topography. So this topography also influences the climate of any area by the interaction of solar radiation, temperature, humidity, rainfall, latitude and altitude. So the vegetation is also affected by all these factors. So there will be a variation in vegetation according to the climatic variation in small areas, which is said to be the microclimate, and even the changes in the soil condition also leads to the change in vegetation. So the topographic factors includes latitude, altitude, direction of mountain and steepness of mountain. Now let us see about the latitude and altitude. Latitude. So the latitude it represents the distance from the equator to the polar. So when the temperature values are maximum at the equator, it will be decreasing at the polar region. So we can see the different types of vegetation. When we go for the equator, due to continuous rainfall, we can see the tropical evergreen forest, but at the same time we can see in the polar region that the lichens are present. So there will be a difference in vegetation. Same way, the height of the place also makes the variation in vegetables. So the height above the sea level forms the altitude. At high altitude, the velocity of the wind remains high, temperature and air pressure decrease while humidity and intensity of light increases. So due to these factors, vegetation at different altitudes varies, showing different zonations. Next topographic factor is the direction of mountain. So when we talk about the direction of the mountain, it is also one of the future we can see the different types of flora and fauna. Because of the higher humidity, rainfall, light intensity, light duration and temperature regions, the vegetation will be varying. So the face of the mountain, it has been classified into two categories as windward side and leeward side. So the windward side means the mountain which faces towards the wind and it possesses a very heavy rainfall. Very heavy rainfall, because of it, it will be having good vegetation. But when we talk about the leeward side, here the rainfall is very deficient and the vegetation will be very poor. So this region is also said to be the rain shadow region. So now let us see about the steepness of the mountain. So the steepness of the mountain is also one of the reason for the different types of the vegetations. So when the water falls on the mountain, when it quickly runs from the mountain top to the ocean and when it erodes the topsoil, it will be resulting in the poor vegetation. On the other hand, when we see the plains and the valleys, it will be rich in vegetation because why now? Because of the slow drain of surface water and better retention of the water in the soil. So these are the topographic factors which influence the vegetation of a place. Already we have discussed about the climatic factors, topographic factors and edaphic factors. Now let us see about the biotic factors. The interaction among the living organisms such as plants and animals are called as the biotic factors. So this may cause the effect upon the vegetations. So the different interactions are classified into following two types. They are positive interaction and the negative interaction. So now let us discuss about the positive interaction. So the first we are going to see about the mutualism in the positive interaction. So mutualism means both the species will get benefit. Then it is said to be the mutualism. So let us see the definition for mutualism. So it is an interaction between the two species of organism in which both are benefited from the obligate association. So there are some common mutualism. So the first one what we are going to see is the nitrogen fixation, the rhizobium, the bacterium which lives in the roots of the leguminous plants. They live symbiotically with the plants. The rhizobium, it obtains food from the leguminous plants and in turn it fixes the atmospheric nitrogen into nitrates, making it available to the host plant because the plants cannot absorb the atmospheric nitrogen directly. So this rhizobium bacterium, it helps the leguminous plants to absorb the nitrogen in a converted form of nitrates. So there are some examples are water fern, Azolla. It is also used in the nitrogen fixing along with the cyanobacterium. Anabaena, which is present in the corallide roots of cycas, also helps the plant to fix the nitrogen. Cyanobacterium, which is found in the thalloid body of Anthoceras, Same way, the wasps which are present in the fruits of fig. The lichen is a mutual association of algae and a fungus. The roots of terrestrial plants and fungal hyphae are said to be the mycorrhiza. Now let us see the next positive interaction, commensalisms. Commensalism means the interaction between two organisms in which one is benefited and the other is neither benefited nor harmed. The species that derives benefit is called the commensal, while the other species it is called as the host. The common example for the commensalism is epiphytes. So, already we have seen the topic epiphytes in 11th standard. Now let us see the definition for the epiphytes. The plants which are found growing on other plant without harming them are called epiphytes. So these are commonly found on the tropical rainforest. So when we talk about the epiphytes of the higher plants, it gets the nutrition and water from the atmosphere with the help of their hygroscopic roots, which contains a special type of spongy tissues called as velamen. So it prepares its own food and does not depend on the host. They use the host plant only for support and does not harm it in any way. So the many orchids, ferns, linens, hanging mosses, peperomia, money plant and usnea are the examples for the epiphytes. The Spanish moss, which grows on the bark of oak and pine trees, is also one example. So now let us see about the another topic, proto-cooperation. So the proto-cooperation means it is an interaction between organisms of different species in which both organisms are benefited but neither is dependent on the relationship. Example, soil bacteria, fungi and plants growing in the soil.